Hi, my name is Christy. I'm going to go over today how to configure your desktop in Aprima. In Aprima, if you are a new user, this is how your desktop will look the first time you log on. Your calendar will be on the left side, your message center will be on the right side. The filter will be blank. This row is blank. You have a search button here. If you click on that search button, you can search for available calendars if you're looking at the calendar window. On the message center, same thing. This blank field, there's a search button here, and you can find available message center filters that you may need to review depending on your job. Everyone should create their own message center to review their own message centers, and we'll go over that in a separate video. To configure your desktop, again, you have two columns. You can create up to 3 columns. Be wary of the size of your screen. You may not want to fill up 3 columns. You can set those columns to anything you need. So if you are front desk and you are monitoring 2 physicians that day, you might want to have 2 calendars, one for one physician, another for another physician. Each job function, you will have different windows that are going to be important to you, and so this really is customizable to how to windows you want to see and are important to you. So to configure your windows, you're going to go over here to Tools in the top header, Configure My Desktop. Keep in mind, any changes you make, if you want to start over, you can reset your configuration. So don't be scared to play with your desktop. Change it around, get comfortable with how it works, but let's get started. When I clicked on Configure My Desktop, you can see here are the 3 columns I was talking about. Choose number of panes to display, 1, 2, or 3. And as you saw earlier, I'm displaying 2 panes. If I selected 3, I would get a new window that pops up. I'm going to go back to 2. This is my primary window. My primary window on my left-hand side, I'm looking at my calendar. I can choose any one of these items, but again, only certain items are going to be pertinent for each job. So if I wanted 2 calendars to be able to monitor, I could come over to my second pane, and I can either type in calendar, or I could have hit the search button and scrolled through and found calendar. Each pane has a refresh rate. Right now the calendar is set with the refresh rate as disabled. You may not want it disabled because then it's not going to show any new additions, any add-ons, any new appointments that are scheduled. So you will most likely want to have it refresh. This here is in seconds. So do you want it to refresh every 30 seconds? That might be a lot. Every time it refreshes, your screen kind of grays out, goes away for just a little bit, and comes back. So every 30 seconds having that gray out might be too much. Every 5 minutes might be a better option. You can always manually refresh your screen, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So right now, my pane 1 I have as a calendar, and I'm going to refresh it every 30 seconds. And then there's also a secondary control. The secondary control right now is on visit notes. I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. I'm going to come down here and add another pane. So if I want multiple panes in one column, I can add several. I wouldn't recommend adding more than 3, just again due to the size of your screen. But let's come down here and add messages. And so again, I'm just going to start typing. I'll hit Tab, pulls up any matches, and I want messages. And so this is going to refresh every 5 minutes. I can change that if I want to. And then my second column, I only have 1 pane. And the pane, you saw me change earlier, I changed it to a calendar. It's going to refresh every 300 seconds or every 5 minutes. And it also has a secondary control called Notes. Notes and visit notes are designed for providers or clinical staff. Messages are like emails, and so a message is an email within Aprima, so it's going to be attached to a patient, and it'll be patient related. Let's say OK and take a look at the changes we've made. So I changed my second pane, my right side pane, to calendar. I still have my calendar on my left side. I now have a new pane down here called Message Center. This pane is fairly small though. If I were looking at patients on the calendar, and let's pull in a test provider, again I'm just going to type in a little bit of the provider's name, hit tab, and it found anything that matched. So it found Therapy Tim. There are several patients scheduled on Tim's calendar, although I can't see them all because the window is too small, the pane is too small. So to make this larger, don't be tempted to grab here and drag up. That doesn't work. All that does is cover up this window that we'll talk about in just a little bit. So to make a pane larger, you will go to Tools, Configure My Desktop. It's the same place we were. And we're going to change the height of this pane. Always change the height of the top window, even if you're trying to make the height of this bottom window smaller. The height of the bottom window depends on the height of the top window. So the top window I want to make larger. Let's try 500. We'll say OK and see what that does. There, very nice. Now I can see most of Tim's schedule for the day. I have my message center down here. Again, we will go over creating a message center for you on a different video. As you saw under the Configure My Desktop screen, each pane can have its own refresh rate. So each pane visually has its own manual refresh button. So the two arrows going in a circle will refresh this pane. The two arrows in this circle will refresh this pane, and etc. We also talked about the secondary view. So if you take a look at this first pane, defaults to my primary pane. Whenever I log on to Aprima, my primary panes will always be what I see first. I will only see a secondary pane if I click on the secondary bullet. So the secondary bullets are designed more for things that you're not going to look at constantly. You don't need to see if anything new shows up right away. You will manually go and review those when you have time. So again, secondary or primary. And you can have a secondary and a primary view in each pane based on how you set it up under Configure My Desktop. So right here, here's my primary window for this pane. Here's my secondary window for this pane.